I didn't know the diet was so important, right? So we were raised in a farm and we ate very clean and very healthy, but I didn't know about the special diet that a patient with kidney failure needed.
Welcome to the New You Game Plan, your blueprint for health and fitness transformation. I'm your host, Kirk Charles. Today we're tackling a health challenge that affects millions of Americans, but often goes undetected until it's too late: chronic and polycystic kidney disease. When kidney disease progresses to kidney failure, dialysis is usually the recommended course of action until the patient hopefully gets a kidney transplant. But today's guest has a remarkable story. When Nercy Sullivan's kidneys began to fail, she opted for a lifestyle overhaul regarding food, exercise, and spirituality to circumvent dialysis and its potentially devastating effects. It's time to hear how she did it.
And I have a very, very high-level story of transformation today. I'm sitting here with Miss Nercy Sullivan. Her friends call her Nurse, so let me call her Nercy. Beautiful young lady. And I first heard about her story regarding getting a kidney transplant a few months ago, and her story just blew me away. Why? Because she circumvented, or she did not have to have transfusions. Not transfusions, but dialysis, right? And that is an amazing story. I've never known anyone to ever do this before. So I had to get her story to Canada so all of you could benefit from, because I'm sure you know someone who may be suffering, from kidney disease or some other malady where you may need to get some type of a transfusion or dialysis. But this lady, okay. So welcome, Nercy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having me. Appreciate being invited into your home. And just to get started, tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Dominican Republic.
And when did you move over here to this country?
I was 22 and a half when I moved to America in 1986.
What problem did you come over?
A change of life, opportunities.
What type of opportunities were you looking for? Did you know back then? I mean, you just
Actually, I was invited to come for my job. And when I came to America, I came for 6 days, and I decided to stay because I saw opportunities that were not available at home.
So 6 days turned into how many years?
40 years.
40 years. Congratulations.
Same for you.
And how many siblings do you have? What was life like before you came over?
I have 10 siblings.
10 siblings.
There's 8 girls and 2 boys.
Where do you rank in number and hierarchy?
Well, we're 14, really. My dad had 4 kids before he married my mom, and then with my mother, he has 10. 8 girls and 2 boys. And I'm number 6 out of the girls, and number 9 with the other 4.
Well, there was a lot of love in that family.
So much love.
Good. And have any of your other siblings moved over also?
Yes. In the 90s, early 90s, my mother had to be moved to America because of kidney failure. Dialysis in the Dominican Republic at that time, actually, I think it's still the same way. The electricity in the Dominican Republic goes on and off. And if somebody is on a machine for 3.5, 4 hours, and the electricity comes and goes, so the lifespan of the patient is limited. And that's when we made the decision to move her to America. And my mother was that glue that kept the family together. So everybody started moving just to follow my mom.
That was 1990, you said?
And my mother moved in 1991.
And you came over like a year before?
I came in 1986.
1986.
Yes.
How was the transition coming over here? You enjoyed it right away, or was it?
Oh, it was a struggle. I thought everybody asked me one job didn't I do? I don't think there was one. I did every job in the book, but always knowing that the opportunities were there, and I just had to learn how to overcome all the obstacles to get to the destination.
What type of company did you work for?
God, I work for an insurance company, lingerie company. I work as a home attendant. I was lucky enough to meet someone who was very unlucky. He was in an accident and lost the ability to walk. And I was able to care for him for 2 years. And I was like, I couldn't imagine being a home attendant. Caring for someone, because I was at 22, I already had a great job that I came to America. I was very successful at that time, and I moved here and I have to start from zero. But the opportunity, this patient was a Puerto Rican man who spoke Spanish and English. So I took the job with a condition that he would only speak English to me, and I didn't speak any English. So in 2 years, he helped me a lot. He was the best professor I ever had.
No, that's great. Great opportunity.
Yes.
Well, your English is perfect now. I can understand everything you say.
Thank you.
So let's fast forward a bit. When you were younger, you were in perfect health, to your knowledge?
Perfect health.
And all of your siblings were too?
Yes.
Okay. And then your mother, when she came over, she had kidney disease. Describe about the disease she had, what type of development it was.
When I was 11 years old, I found out that my mother had a kidney failure. But at that time, they didn't call it kidney failure. I don't even think they had a name for PKD, at least not in the Dominican Republic.
Which is PKD?
Polycystic kidney disease. It's a condition that the patient gets. At the time, they told my mother that she had like mosquitoes like in her kidney. That it was like little specks, but not to worry, nothing was going to happen to her. As time went by, my mother's kidney started, those little dots in my mother's kidney connected, and then it took the life of the kidney. The kidney is it cleanses the body. So the ability to cleanse her body was not longer available, and that's when my mother had to go on dialysis.
Mm-hmm. And you were 11 years old, is that?
Yes, but at that time, my mother was fine. She continued having more kids. Life was beautiful. She was healthy, and then polycystic kidney disease started affecting most patients after their late 30s, 40s, in their 50s. It's time for transplant. And dialysis can start anytime after 38 years old. So that was my mom. I think she started dialysis in her early 50s.
In her early 50s.
Yes.
And the care for her at that time, when you or your siblings taking her back and forth to the hospital?
To the dialysis center. So dialysis, the way is still the same way. A patient goes to dialysis 3 times a week for 3.5 hours. So either the patient is recuperating from dialysis the next day, and you go Monday, Wednesday. Let's say my mother always went Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, my mother was recuperating from the day before. So it's not like you get a treatment and you have a fabulous life. You get a treatment and now your body has to adjust to all the electrolytes and all the symptoms that happen while the blood is taken out of the body, washing it and putting it back in. That's the system.
So you said she was recovering the day after. What about on Sunday? How does she feel on Sunday?
Well, you see, in the weekend she has a little more time, but that was also a little bit dangerous because she would every other day for dialysis, that would keep her kind of like stable and more clean. In the weekend, now she has 2 days where she's eating all and drinking. Now her body gets overloaded. So by Monday, she's exhausted because she has to go back to dialysis. It's a constant up and down. But it's never a great life. So watching that, it was truly scary for me and painful to watch because you feel helpless, that you can't help make it better.
Then you mentioned she had PKD. Is other members of your family have PKD, like her brothers and sisters or her brother and father?
Actually, my mother inherited PKD. That's a genetic condition. She inherited it from her father. We didn't know this until years later when my brothers and sisters started showing the same symptoms. Then we realized that my mother's father and her 2 sisters that passed before died of the same symptoms. That's how we realized, okay, this is coming from our ancestors. And as the years started going by, my brothers and one of my sisters especially started showing symptoms and getting sick. Then she went on dialysis and, transplants and the whole story. And at the same time, my uncles and cousins were showing the same symptoms in the same side of my mother's family. So this is a condition, I think at the moment there are about 14 kidney transplants in my family, and some deaths that are related to it as well.
There are no vaccines or any type of medication that you can take in order to prevent.
Now they are. But at the time, there was nothing. And even the information was conflictive, because I remember I found out that I had PKD, polycystic kidney disease, at age 32. And because I was so educated in my own family, watching what was happening to them, and I was here in America, I was able to get genetic testing. And that's how I found out, yes, you do have polycystic kidney disease. They advised me not to have more than 2 kids because it's aggressive to the body. But they say it would be good for you to have 2 kids. The chances of my kids being born with polycystic kidney disease was 50-50. So they say if one of your kids one day need a transplant, and they have each other to support each other. So I follow instructions. I have 2 daughters, and they don't have polycystic kidney disease. I got lucky.
And how old are your daughters?
My daughters are 28 and 29.
Now, of your 10 siblings, how many of them have PKD?
There is 7 of us. So it's 50-50 chances. In my family, it's 70%.
Now, when did they find out they had, I know you had the genetic testing done, so I assume they had some type of testing also?
Yes.
And when did any type of symptoms start to manifest for them? Oh, on average, like early 30s?
Okay. One of my older sisters found out that she had PKD. She was the first one, and it was very aggressive for her. She struggled, getting sick and all that stuff. And then she went on dialysis. And actually, first, she refused dialysis first. And my best friend donated a kidney to her in 2004. And she had the kidney until 2017. And then she had to go back on dialysis.
Why did she have to go back?
Because the kidney failed, right? So then she had 3 kidneys now in her belly, and the one that my friend donated stopped working. So then she went back on dialysis. And that was so painful for her, to lose that opportunity to have a great life. And then she was on dialysis until 2020. In 2020, she got another transplant from a deceased donor. And now she's fine again.
So
and away from dialysis.
She has 4 kidneys now?
Now she has 4 kidneys. At the time, we were not very educated about remove the organs or any of that stuff. They normally don't like to remove the organs. For many people, for many patients, the organs get smaller, they shrink after a transplant. But those organs are still in your body, so they do create some kind of havoc.
Now, with your brothers and sisters, 7 had PKD, how many of them went on dialysis?
How many on dialysis? It was my sister Susie. My mother was on dialysis, and pretty much the rest didn't go on dialysis.
They didn't go on dialysis?
No.
What did they do?
We waited as long as possible. So after watching the struggles that my mother went through with dialysis, my mother was on dialysis, then she got a kidney transplant, then she went back to dialysis. And then at 78, she decided that it was too hard, that she didn't want dialysis anymore, and she chose to let go because it was too painful.
So, regarding your brothers and your sisters, 3 went on dialysis, you think?
Two went on dialysis. See, that way can you come with my sister Marcia didn't go, Freddie and Jose didn't do it.
What happened to them? What was the manifestation of the disease since they did go on dialysis, or did they get a transplant before they?
They did.
They did.
They did. Got it into a transplant before getting and some of them were sick. Like one of my sister was very ill, but she was so afraid. She saw what we saw at home with dialysis was so scary that for us, dialysis was not an option. So we worked really hard to get the transplant before having to do dialysis.
And you did not go on dialysis.
I did not.
What did you do in order to maintain your health?
I changed my lifestyle, diet. Watching what was happening, especially my mother, she was my patient. I took care of her medicine. I was the one, we all work, to help her. But my job was her diet and her doctors. I managed her medications and all that stuff. And caring for her was really hard. Also the frustration of not knowing. At the time, I didn't know, the late 90s, the 2000s, I didn't know the diet was so important, right? So we were raised in a farm and we ate very clean and very healthy, but I didn't know about that special diet that the patient with kidney failure needed. And watching my mother and how she started deteriorating little by little, it made me understand that the diet had a lot to do. So when my time came, I decided that I wanted to do it differently. And what I watched that didn't work in my family, then I didn't do it, and I chose differently.
What didn't work in your family?
For example, the diet. Like, right, we continue eating meat. We continue feeding my mother. Like, she would come home, and without knowing, we would make her these beautiful soups, right, with beef. Beef was not great for her because the animal protein, her body couldn't manage it. Because her kidneys were not cleansing her body. And meanwhile, we were making these lovely soups and didn't heal her and would make her worse, right? We didn't know the right vegetables for her. And there are some vegetables and foods that we were feeding her that were actually poisoning her. And
what were those foods?
For example, a patient with kidney failure should not have any spinach or almonds, cheese, milk, because any foods that are high on phosphorus or oxalates. Oxalates are crystals that our bodies, with our kidneys are now working, cannot manage, cannot cleanse. So I avoided all those things, and I started only eating plant protein or plant foods that my body can cleanse on a daily basis. Animal proteins takes longer to be, pushed out of the body, and I realized I had to avoid it. And as I started avoiding it, I started feeling better, and I stayed constantly, more stable. My health stayed better. So I continued doing that, and then I started adding other things. Like I started taking classes, and they say when the student is ready, the maestro will appear, and I believe in that because whenever I was searching for information, someone would come over, and I would put it in practice. And every day I try the new thing that made me feel good. What else can I add on to make me continue staying good?
When you were changing your diet, did your doctor, your primary care doctor, or if it was hematologist, I would assume, or hepatologist, did they recommend the diet to you, or you just found that out?
Actually, no. The only thing at that time that the doctors were really adamant about it was like sodium. Is try not to eat a lot of salt because high blood pressure and diabetes are the two highest causes of kidney failure. And with polycystic kidney disease, that comes with that, right? So we have to avoid that. At the time, I was avoiding all those things, but still the condition continues progressing. And as time went by, the numbers started. There are three numbers that we have to watch, which is the GFR, that's the percentage that the kidney is working at, the creatinine, and the BUN, how your body's being cleansed. So I have to drink a lot. I have to stay very hydrated in order to cleanse my body daily. So that way, because the kidneys were not cleansing my body. So I had to drink extra fluids to allow my body to stay clean. And that's what I did.
Were those fluids mostly water or fruit juices?
Mostly water. Yeah, they want us to avoid sugary foods and processed food, because anything that is processed, the body has a hard time recognizing and digesting.
So when you made these changes, was it like an immediate change or was it gradual?
Oh God, it was, no. I actually created a wall. I don't know if you ever watched the show Homeland, where, Carrie used to have a wall in her house when she was investigating a case. She would put all the elements in the wall, and she started connecting. I became a Carrie. I was obsessed about understanding the condition. Like, why does it happen? What makes it worse? How can I make it better? How can I slow it down until I learn more? So I started learning about oxalates, for example. And then I found a class that was teaching, that was a module. I was like, this is brilliant. Somebody told us. Then it was like sodium and how the sodium appears. Like, I thought sodium was only like, oh, I take salt and I put it in my food. Sodium is in everything. And then I started understanding things. And I learned about phosphorus, oxalates, everything that is in our bodies, okay? And the more I learned, the more I realized there's so much more to learn. So I started finding classes. I found a program that was especially for kidney patients with kidney failure. And it was a program from all over the world, which made me, and then I got a bunch of friends where we were all looking for the same information. So not only did I learn by watching the modules that they were teaching us, I learned from the patients in Italy, in Canada, in England. Everybody was searching for the same information. And we were getting better.
Now, is there more, are there certain countries that have more advanced information in your research?
Well, everyone, I think we all kind of, actually next week I'm going to Chicago for the PKD conference, where they're going to be everybody, our patients, doctors, professionals that are researching this condition, because I didn't know these communities existed, and they are now. So there are some countries for example, Mexico is a country that has a high population of patients with kidney failure. Dominican Republic is a high one. Africa is another country that has a high. Also, the poor communities, because remember, diet takes a big part in our health, and the least amount of money you have to buy the right foods, the worse the health is.
Now, regarding your diet change, how did you feel up to the time you were to get your kidney transplant? Did you feel fine? Did you feel sick like you said your brother was assisting them?
I was pretty much fine up to like the last 4 years, when I really had to intensify the diet. After the last 4 years, my numbers went down to 20. 20 is when the doctors pay attention and they put you on dialysis. They put you on a waiting list for a transplant.
Is that 20% functioning of your kidney?
Of the kidney. That's the GFR.
GFR.
Yes. So that when the GFR gets to 20, you qualify to get on a waiting list for the transplant. And also the doctors start educating you about starting to start planning dialysis. That's when I realized I need to work. And I went to work. I started taking classes. I became also a yoga teacher, so I can meditate and quiet my mental health. Because, the mental health has a lot of capacity to help with high blood pressure. So I realized this helps. So I was taking classes, and then I decided to be a yoga teacher. Not to teach others. My goal was, how can I do it every day to stay alive? And I did that, and then I kept finding other classes that will help me with add on more elements to stay alive while slowing down the process of the losing my health and be able to get to transplant without dialysis.
When you say your GFR was 20%, is that in both kidneys? Was one kidney totally not functioning? How does that work?
It was actually both kidneys at the same time. By the time I got to transplant, one of my kidneys was 2 pounds. Mind you, a kidney is about 8 ounces, and mine was 2 pounds one, and the other one was 2 ounces, like 14 ounces, 1 pound and 14 ounces. So they were almost 4 pounds. And normally, like both kidneys are like a pound. Mine were 4 pounds. So that's when I realized, I need to, and they show me whenever I got a sonogram, sonograms, they show me how the cysts were connecting and how big they were. So they were like, you need to start planning dialysis.
When you decided to change your diet, did the doctors say anything about how well you were doing with the diet change instead of just, planning dialysis? Why not?
When I was at that time, nutrition wasn't a big part of the plan at the hospital. Really, the nutrition I found it outside. Like I found it by myself outside. I had conversations with nutritionists and dietitians, but it wasn't that targeted. And at the point when I went down to 5%, this was an emergency. So negotiating with like eating a little bit of this and a little bit of that didn't work. Because at this point, I'm taking potassium binder and phosphorus binder, meaning my body wasn't cleansing itself. I have to have supplements that will bind with my food to be able to get it out of my system. So the education was crucial.
You also mentioned becoming a yoga teacher. And in order to calm you down, you said to lower your blood pressure. How was your blood pressure rating at that point?
Yes. My cardiologist was working with me with lowering my blood pressure, and it was going high, and it was COVID time, and a lot was happening in the world, and suddenly my blood pressure was just getting sky high, and we changed it like 3 or 4 times, and then I realized I need more, so I started looking into what else can I do. So I started doing yoga, Kundalini yoga. And I found a great teacher, Yoga Vision, a company from Canada that was wonderful. So I started doing the class every day. And every class that I took, I found new messages. And I found messages to help me in other areas of my life. Like, it was almost like, I took a class like to exercise, but the mental health benefits was extra. And I realized, wow, this is beautiful. So I decided to become a yoga teacher.
What is Kundalini yoga? How is that different from just
yoga? Well, Kundalini yoga really connects all the elements. I will say it's highly recommended for anyone. And Kundalini yoga, especially me, I can do 10 things at once in my head. So finding to be focused was a hard thing for me. So with Kundalini yoga, I found that I can combine the thought, the breath, and the movement. So when you're doing those 3 things, you can't be thinking about something else because you have to be, keep your body in motion, or you're connecting the breath to the movement, when your body is also trying to get the air to your brain and down to your abdomen. And it's like, how do you do all these things? You have to be present. So I realized, wow, I need this medicine.
Right. Let's fast forward to the point where you're about to get your transplant. Did you find out any information regarding how your body was? Were you going to fail or possibly die within a month or so if you didn't get this transplant, or what happened? What was going on around that time?
Actually, 14 months before my transplant, I realized I'm in trouble. And I was a time bomb because every time I had a conversation with my doctor, it was like, we need to discuss dialysis. And I did it all before. I actually hired a doctor who introduced me into peptides and exosomes, and I got injections. He told me, for a month I did a treatment, very pricey, and he told me, this is not gonna cure your kidneys, but it might slow down the progression. I'm like, let's do it. And 2 months later, I found out that someone was doing plasma therapy, and in America it was $20,000, in Argentina was half. I went to Argentina last May, and I got a treatment. And I do believe that those treatments helped me slow down the progression and allow me 14 months, I was at 5% without dialysis. And up to the last minute, I was working out, and I was full of energy, and I was not sick. I had a condition, but I never felt myself like a sick patient. And I don't recommend this to everyone, but for me, I had so much information watching my family getting sick, throwing up, and watching the symptoms. I didn't have those symptoms. So this is the reason why I decided to wait it out, because I was feeling okay. I knew transplant was imminent. And then for 4 years, I was at a center on the waiting list for a transplant, because for 4 years I was under 20. And but I kept my health, I kept working, I kept doing my life. But when it came to April last year, I decided to move from one center. I didn't feel like they were working fast enough for me, and I moved to another center. And when I did that, it was the first time that I found out that I not only was in kidney failure, but I was also in liver failure, and that I needed a double transplant. That was shocking, because I was not prepared to hear that. In my family, in my immediate family, there are 7 transplants. I'm number 8 with a kidney transplant, number 1 with a liver transplant. At this point, by having also the kidney failure and my numbers on my kidneys being so low, I qualified to be on top of the list for a transplant. So luckily, I got transplanted within 3 months. July 8th was my new birthday.
Did your PKD trigger the liver problem?
Yes.
You know, it did.
Yes.
And that did not happen to any of your other siblings that you know of?
No.
Do you know how it triggers the liver problem?
You know, this is my thought. It's probably wrong. I had to ask that to the doctors. But because I waited so long at such a lower percentage in my kidneys were working, barely working, right? So I guess the liver was doing most of the work. And maybe that's why. That is a question that I actually have for my doctors. Was that the reason? Because I never knew that there was anything wrong with my liver. And I never had a pain or a discomfort.
Signs, no pain, no
Never. No one ever mentioned to me that there was something wrong with my liver.
So you get the transplant. How was your recovery after the transplant?
Tough.
Tough?
Yes. That was like doing a triathlon. Yes.
So what were you going through? And was anyone helping you out at home?
Oh God, I had the most incredible family. My sisters are gold, and my friends. All my friends and clients and family, everybody showed up to support me in every way possible. I was in the hospital from July 8th to July 23rd. Intensive care the first week. Like, I was intubated for 3 days after the transplant. So it was a rough. I got 6 surgeries in one. So six. So I got the 2 kidneys removed, the liver and the gallbladder. And then after, I got a liver and a kidney put back. So that's 6 surgeries in one, and that lasted 14 hours. 8 days after, they found out that something got disconnected or got clogged up, and they had to go back in. So I went back in for 3.5 hours, total 17.5 hours of surgery. The recovery was the most painful thing I had ever experienced in my life, but every day it got better. Every day I felt better. And today, 11 months later, tomorrow is 11 months, 11 months later, I feel like I'm 25 again.
Did you lose any weight? Were you just weak, nauseous during that time?
God, I lost 24 pounds.
24.
Yes. It took me 11 months to get it back, so I'm back to my previous weight. But it was a difficult situation. I didn't realize that losing 24 pounds in a month was so harsh. Like I couldn't even hold myself. I was like I needed my team, my sister. I would take walks every single day. The day I got home from the hospital, the next day I went for a 1 block walk, and every day I would add another block. But I knew that every day that I did that, it was excruciating pain. But every day I got better.
And would you walk by yourself or with someone?
Oh God, no. There were moments when my sisters would be holding, or my brother and my friends would be holding my hands, and I would say, "Can you hold my arms?" I couldn't even hold my little skinny arms because it was so painful. You know, the amount of medication that I was taking, it was, I could feel it in my joints. I can feel it everywhere. But the gift of knowing that I was going to get my health back, it was something that I wanted to run for. And I knew patience is not my thing, but I had to learn a lot of patience to wait. And all I could think, it was like, okay, in a month, it's going to be a little better than this. In 2 months, or I would think like in December, like it was July 8th, right? In December, for my birthday, I'm going to be myself again. And it's not even myself. I got a life back that I didn't think it was possible again. So this is available for patients to know that, you can get your life back.
So how long was you just got the surgery 11 months ago, you said, right? How long was the recovery period? 2, 3 months, 5? What would you say? When did you get back to you feeling normal?
I would say like 5 months.
5 months?
Yes.
Is that normal for everyone, or did it happen quicker for you?
Well, I'm not sure, but I must tell you, like I even thought I'm going back to work in 3 months. And 3 months later, I was exhausted. I was tired. I didn't feel safe. The amount of anti-rejection medication that I was on, it put me at a place where, somebody sneezed near me and it would send me to the emergency room the next day. My immunity was so low. So I decided that I wanted to stay home a little bit longer just to protect this new life that I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, how does the future look to you? You're how old now?
I'm 63.
63.
Actually, no, I'm 43 because I got organs from a 34-year-old male who was in a horrible car accident July 4th weekend. And I was blessed, his family donated his organs, and I was blessed with his. So now my age is really 43.
Good for you. Good for you. So what's the prognosis for the future as far as, you're not limited in any way physically, are you?
No way.
You can do whatever you used to do before.
And more.
And more.
And more.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you get the and more? What did you do?
Well, my goal, the more, is I want to give back. I created a foundation. This November is going to be 2 years, Renavida, to help the community find what I found, because it's possible. I didn't know so much before, but now that I'm a double transplanted patient, I got to learn so much through my family and then through the doctors. I got an incredible team of professionals helping me through this. And I want to pass it on. I want to help other people. They don't have to do all the work that I did because I already went through it. So I want to share those information to support as many people as possible to do what I did. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. But if they do the work, look, I prepare so well before transplant. I prepare really well during transplant. And after transplant, every day I aim to have a better day than the previous one. So if people do that, it's a win-win for the patient, right? If I aim to eat well, if I aim to exercise, I have a good life, right? My health is good. And then, it's a win-win.
Regarding your foundation and giving back, are you on the lecture tour? Are you writing books? What are you doing?
I would love to write a book. And actually, my doctor in my way out says, I want you to write a book, but not yet. I take 4 to 5 years because your story will be more impactful then. So my goal is to educate myself as much as possible, learn from the professionals, because there are so many doctors, educators who care. So my goal is to learn and educate my family, my community, anyone who's searching for this kind of information. I actually, through my foundation, I created this pamphlet with Dr. Priya Deshpande. She's a doctor at Mount Sinai Hospital. And we created 3 questions to ask you, doctor. Sometimes you go to the doctor, and you leave and it's like, oh, damn, I wanted to ask this, but I forgot.
What are those questions?
By taking these, it's like, going to the doctor and evaluating, let's say, when I go to see my doctor, I get blood work, right? And then my doctor get my blood work first, and then I go and see my doctor after. So they already have my blood work. And we made decisions based on fresh blood work, not like the last blood work that were done 6 months ago. So immediately we make changes, we make adjustments. So this way there are no mistakes, and I write everything down. So I document every doctor that I see, and all the information is combined together. So there are no mistakes. I'm part of my team. I'm managing my health. And I think everybody should be doing that with their own health.
Tell us some of the 10 questions.
Some of the questions, for example, going to a doctor and say, okay, so how am I doing in my blood work? What are we changing? What are we adding? What are we taking away? Do I need all these medications? What is this for? Understand what you're taking every single day. Ask questions. Look at your blood work. In the blood work, if you open my chart and you look at your blood work, everything that is in green, don't worry about it. Anything that is in the red or a high or low, you need to question it. Because maybe you just need supplements, or maybe you need to take something away. But knowing is the best solution.
So regarding your work, your foundation, if anyone wants to contact you, how do we do that? Nercy@redavida@gmail.com is a great way to get in touch with me. I am available to support anyone who's looking for this information. All right. Thank you so much, Nercy. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. And continued success to you.
Thank you.
May you live for a long time.
Thank you. My grandmother was 112 when she passed. I'm aiming for that.
Wow. My grandmother just turned 100 this year. So yeah, we
God
both
bless
have longevity.
her.
Good.
Yes.
Good. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the New You Game Plan. And remember, the new you might be right around the corner. All you have to do is keep walking. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.